Trying to decide what modifications and upgrades you want to do to your side-by-side? Well, I'm Alan with Wicked Pekker Off-Road, and we're going to show you in this video exactly what we decided to do and why we did it. So in a previous video, we showed you the brand new machine with no modifications, completely stock, and let you know some of the upgrades that we had in stock, parts we had in stock ready to go, and what we were thinking for our build. So in this video, we're going to go over all of the modifications that we did do to it, that we mentioned in the other video, and also some we didn't mention in the other video, and let you know exactly what we liked about them, what we didn't like about them, and where we're going to go from here. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the heart and soul of the machine, the drive shaft. We went with a Sandcraft drive shaft and a Sandcraft steering stabilizer and tie rods. The reason we went with Sandcraft, the complete drive shaft, it's a lot beefier, a lot bigger U-joints, all around stronger than the stock drive shaft. It is balanced. It also has a greasable carrier bearing assembly that's a solid mount instead of the rubber mount like a stock one. All in all, it's a really strong upgrade. The steering stabilizer is unlike anything else on the market. Most companies that do a steering rack stabilizer is just a flag. It's a piece of built aluminum that kind of rubs against the tie rod ends and stabilizes it that way. The Sandcraft is a hydraulic shock system, and it was put in brand new. Of course, the rack was brand new. And they say if you have an older one and your rack's worn out, you can put a stock steering rack in there and use their stabilizer, and it'll keep that stock rack from wearing out. The tie rods are built aluminum. They look really nice. So we went with that for the first upgrade. The second, we went into CT Race Worx. Now, there was two companies that were in the running for what we were going to do with this, CT Race Worx and CA Tech. Our last buggy we had CA Tech on, and absolutely phenomenal company. They had all the parts to upgrade. The reason we went with CT Race Worx on this is to try something different for one, but the bomb-proof shock tower brace kit had a cutout in the center, which is where our heater kit blower motor mounted. The CA Tech is a solid plate, and our blower motor won't work with that for our heater kit. So we went with CT Race Worx and kind of followed that theme throughout the machine. All their parts, as with CA Tech's, are top-notch, built aluminum, pressed steel, stamped steel, whatever it is, welded, boxed, tubular A-arms. They're all really good stuff. So on this, we went with the bomb-proof front-end gusset kit. First off, this is a shock tower brace, a built aluminum shock tower brace. The brackets that go down in steel to the front to make the shock tower upper mounts double shear. As most of you know from the factory, they are not double shear, they're single shear. If you jump this, do a lot of high speed over rough terrain, this whole upper shock tower, excuse me, flexes, and with this shock tower brace kit, it stops all the flex. The same thing with their bomb-proof front end kit. It takes all of the A-arm brackets and makes them double shear with a thick, heavy duty, very well made kit. You take the front end apart, you bolt all their parts in and put your factory stuff back in, or an upgraded A-arm setup like we did, and makes it super strong, holds it all together, keeps all the flex out of it, keeps it strong for years and years and years. We also went with CT Race Worx lower front A-arms. They're the fully box welded, braced, high arch, high clearance A-arms. We just did the bottoms because we do a lot of rock crawling, and that's what gets beat up the most. So eventually we will go with the uppers as well, but the initial build, we just decided to do just the lowers. We also did the Keller ball joint upgrade from them at the same time. So the lowers are Keller ball joints with their boxed and tubular A-arms. At the same time, we took off the front sway bar, which if you've been around, you know most people do. This thing came off with 0 miles on it, and we replaced it with the limiting straps on the front here, also from CT Race Worx. Keeping along the same theme, we went with the CT Race Worx inner fender well liner. They're steel, very good install. I was super happy with how all the parts fit, the quality of all the parts, and I think they're gonna last for years to come. We went with the fender well liners because I'm sure all of you have seen the videos out there of people going down in mud holes and a log coming through their fender well liner and busting up through here. I've seen side-by-sides with 1-inch, 2-inch sticks that came through the firewall, came up into the passenger compartment, went through somebody's leg, or it could be much worse. These prevent that. I'm not sure exactly the gauge on it, but it's roughly 1/8 inch thick steel. Has their logo on it. Anyway, it's really nice. The next upgrade we did was a KFI 4,500 pound wide winch with synthetic rope mounted to the bumper. And we did a Yankum's rope fair lead here. So the entire winching system doesn't have any metal in it. There's not a metal hook, there's not metal cable, there's nothing metal. So when you pull the rope out, you use a soft shackle, hook it to whatever you're using, and if synthetic rope breaks, it just falls to the ground. It doesn't have the tension on it like a steel cable. And steel cable, when it breaks, slashes back and can do a lot of damage. Not to mention when you're pulling it out and going back in, all those little broken steel cable parts can really slice you open pretty good. The synthetic rope, 100% highly recommend that over steel cable. This way it just keeps it a lot safer when you're winching, and believe me, you're gonna winch. The whole winch assembly is safe that way and keeps all the problems with steel winch cable out of it. The next thing we're going to go to is the entire skid plate assembly. So we went with factory UTV skid plates, also went with their bumper and rock sliders and the entire kit. The reason I went with factory UTV is on the Honda Talon, we had factory UTV. It fits perfectly. Wonderful company. It's probably the best fitting kit I've seen out there. And this one thing, even better, is their front bumper, and it integrates seamlessly with the UHMW skid plate, and it has a UHMW skid plate that wraps around the front of the bumper and comes up, integrates with their skid plate seamlessly. So if you're bashing into rocks, it just slides right down continuously all the way down the vehicle, and you don't have anything to get hung up on. It's a very solid front bumper, and I like the way it looks and fits on there. So that's why we decided to go with that. As we walk around the vehicle, I'll show you the integrated rock sliders and the trailing arm sliders and everything else with it. The next thing we have is our pod lights on the front. So these two pod lights, they're slightly angled out to the side. They're 40 watts each, and they have a floodlight and spotlight. So 2 of the lights are flood, 2 are spot on each one. So we have 80 watts there. It's also integrated with our light bar up top that has 10 lights across it with 2 and 2 yellows and 6 whites across the middle. They're wired separately, so you can ride the trail at night with just the yellows on. I wired them up so these come on with those yellows, so I have a full spread of yellow when I'm down trail riding, rock crawling, what have you. So yellow is in previous videos. It makes everything sharper. If it's foggy out, dusty out, raining out, you can see all the fine details, where with white light, it reflects back at you. So it kind of blinds you in any of those situations, which, let's be honest, if you're off-roading and you're rock crawling in this, it's always going to be dusty or foggy or rainy or some kind of inclement weather at some point in your trip. Everyone I ride with loves the amber lights. It doesn't blind them in their rearview mirror if they're in front of me, and oncoming traffic really likes them too because it doesn't blind them. But it's still, with the floodlight, you can see, especially these canted out to the side slightly, you can see all the incoming branches as they're coming at you. With the bright white lights, sometimes those get lost. So you can tell if you got to duck your head in or something like that with the amber lights, where you can't with the white. But since the whites are on a separate switch, you can turn them all on at the same time. So you have 12 lights, 40 watts each. That's a lot of light. The mount up there is super solid. It's a extruded aluminum bar with all the lights mounted in it. We can make them in any configuration you want. So the next thing we're going to talk about is our wheels and tires. So here we have our wheel and tire combination that we chose. We wanted to go with a 35-inch tire, and I didn't want to do the same old tire that most people do on the East Coast, which is the Rockzilla. So I chose to go with the MRT Rocky RX in a 35. This is the sticky compound, and it has the Kevlar sidewalls. I've seen a lot of the Zillas with holes in the sidewalls on the side of the trail using a slug or a glue thread or a handful of tire plugs. So far, knock on wood, we haven't had any problems with these tires at all. Also went with a System 3 beadlock wheel. Nice light wheel. I wouldn't say they're the lightest out there, but they're a really good price. And we had them on the Talon as well. Never had an issue out of them, so we went with them again. And I like the looks of them. We also have our center caps on there. These are for the X3. They bolt on with 4 stainless steel bolts instead of the snap-in cap. And you can see they're flush with the wheels, and we haven't knocked one off yet. Even if we do, there's 5 in the kit, so you have an extra. But these have been a really good wheel and tire combination. I typically run them at 8 PSI. If we're doing a lot of really slow, hard, steep walls or something, I move them down to 6.5 or 7 pounds. But 8 PSI seems to be really good for the type of riding we do. Don't do a lot of super high speed. If we did, we might bump it up to 10 or 12. But that's been a great wheel and tire combination for us. Next, we have the Mudbuster XL fender flares. Went with Mudbusters over the Rock Blocks or any of the other ones out there because they perform flawlessly on the Talon. We bent them over, I don't know how many hundreds of times on trees or rocks, and they popped right back. I did, after 3.5 years, have one that cracked, and I called up Mudbusters, and they sent me on another set. No questions asked. So we went with these again. They work great, front and back. We went with the XLs because we have a 72-inch wide machine. The non-XLs are for a 64-inch machine. You can run the XLs on a 64-inch machine, but they are going to stick out way past the tires. These don't. The tires actually stick out about an inch, inch and a half from these. But they protect us inside a lot from flying mud. Anyway, they're great. They'll fold, come right back, and do their job at blocking the mud. Next, we have our windshield. We went with a Super ATV power flip. Thought about going with the Can-Am power flip. Couple reasons we went with the Super ATV. One was the price. This was a heck of a lot cheaper than the Can-Am one. The second was the way it mounted in the front. The Can-Am, you have to trim plastics and stuff for it. The Super ATV, you don't have to trim anything. It comes with a panel up front to fill in the gap, and it actually seals up really nice, operates great, has this wraparound for the cage, so it keeps a lot of the holes filled in. Obviously, it's still a side-by-side. It's not going to be 100% sealed in a downpour. But for the majority, it's a really good fit. And I love the idea and the practicality of being able to open it up just a little bit if you're going down the highway and you need just a little bit of airflow, or fully open and anywhere in between. So I highly recommend a power flip over a manual flip. If you can swing it, get it. Just because it's a life changer for sure. On the X3, you can't really see in the video right now, but there's a clear panel up top here. So it really helps with your view when you're going down hills or you're coming up to a steep hill. You can look out the top and really improves your line of sight. Next, we're going to go on to our side window enclosures. I was going on a trip up to Tennessee last year, and I grabbed these off of Amazon real quick. They're from Kemimoto. They were right around $100. They went on pretty nice. They don't seal up perfectly, but I didn't really expect them to for $100. What we're probably going to eventually go with the BRP Can-Am windows that bolt to the door. They open with the door. These were just a quickie. Pop the roof bolts out, run some straps around, tie it down, done. I put them on here in the shop, and then we loaded them on a trailer and headed to Tennessee. By the time we got to the first gas stop, the windows had left the chat. They were completely gone, ripped right out. The zippers came loose. This one little piece of fabric in the back that held on was gone. If they would have made them with the windows zip completely out from the get-go, it would have saved them. I wouldn't have put those in there, but the mounting part would have been done. So I just left the rest of it in there for the rest of the trip, and since then, and they're fine. But what can you expect for $100? I wouldn't do it again. And if you do them, don't haul it on the interstate with it. You won't have any windows in it when you get there. So enough of that one. We'll move on to the back of the machine. So what we're going to talk about first on the back is a RPM catalytic converter delete. We did that when I had 0 miles on, as well as almost all these upgrades. We were trying to cut back on some of the heat in the turbo, is our thoughts, but yet we didn't want a complete exhaust because we didn't want it really loud. So we have the stock exhaust with just the RPM cat delete pipe in there. Simple to install, no problems with it at all. Next, we're going to go back to CT Race Worx. So in order to keep with the theme from the front, we went with a CT Race Worx pull plate, all built aluminum thick, over 1 inch thick. So we went with CT Race Worx here on the back as well to keep with the theme from the front. We went with the CT Race Worx billet pull plate and the CT Race Worx lower radius rods. So we didn't do all 3 radius rods because, again, we're East Coast rock crawling for the most part, and the first one that's going to hit on a rock is the bottom. So it's really not any more expensive to go with just the lower and then do the upper 4 rods as they wear out, the radius joints wear out, or the rods get bent. But we just opt to do that for now. They've worked out great. They've held up. They do have, I think they're made out of 70-75 build aluminum, where CA Tech is 60-61. I don't really think that makes a big difference. They both have a lifetime warranty. If you happen to break a CA Tech one, 60-61, they're going to give you a new one anyway. Same with CT Race Worx. So that wasn't a consideration. It's just something to note. On the Packout mount, you know, we have quite a few products for the Milwaukee Packout. Here's a couple of our fuel can mounts. The Packout mount, base plate mount that I chose was from Child's Play Fab. The reason I chose that is most of them have a triple mount that mounts in the middle. Child's Play Fab was the only one that I found that had a double mount in the middle, and then up a little bit on the sides, they have 2 single mounts. So that helped out the configuration I wanted to run a lot. I just wanted a small cooler. I didn't want a big double cooler. And I wanted another storage box over here. Makes it easy if I want to carry a 1 gallon fuel can, a 2 or 3 gallon fuel can, or one of our 2.5 gallon fuel cans. I can put them on any configuration I want. If we're going on a short day trip, going to be less than 75 miles or so, I just take a 1 gallon gas can. Not really for myself, but we have met people along the trail that have run out of gas, and it's just a little bit, I can give them a gallon of gas and it keeps them going, gets them back off the trail. If we're going on longer trips, I opt for the 2 gallon or 3 gallon can for obvious reasons. A buddy of mine rides a Pro R, and he quite often uses my big can to fill up his machine before the end of the day, where I don't so much. But it's always nice to have them for somebody else out there if you don't need it yourself. I like the big toolbox configuration in the middle. It's a medium height box. I have a divider in it, keep tools on one side, recovery gear in the other. This is for rain gear, tire plug kits, air pump, everything I keep in there, recovery gear, and the cooler, obviously. So the next thing I want to talk about is a new product that we have coming out soon, and that is a replacement for the clutch housing tube. This is the stock clutch housing tube that goes down in there. So what we have done, and there's other companies that make them, but not quite the same way as we did ours. So we have a 5-layer reinforced silicone hoses that go on the end. They're for intercooler boost tubes on big diesel trucks, so they're very sturdy. New clamps and everything in there. And then we have a 4-inch Be Cool fan that goes in there. If you've ever put your hand in front of the exhaust for the belt box, which is right behind the muffler, when it's idling, there's barely any air coming out of it all. So if your belt gets hot, you slip your belt, burn a little bit, smoke it, what have you, and you're trying to let it idle to cool off so you can keep going, you're barely moving any air across it at all. With that fan in there, and I just wired it up so it's key on all the time, there's probably at least 15 times the amount of air that flows over there when it's idling. And as you go up through the RPMs, now I haven't measured it specifically at wide open throttle, because that's kind of hard to do. Maybe if you're a dooner and you're running wide open throttle all the time, this probably isn't the modification for you, because there's quite a bit of air being moved by that clutch fan, the ribs on the clutch itself. But if you're East Coast, your technical trails, if you've ever been in a situation where you smoked a belt doing something slow, you're not in low range like you're supposed to be, which I might have done one time, this is going to help you out a lot. It's going to get the heat out of there. It's going to get smoke out of there. It's going to dry it out if you happen to get some water in there. It sucks such a volume of air through it. It'll really help you out. And you don't have to let your vehicle sit there and idle, which can flat spot your belt from the primary. This, you can shut it off, leave the key on, and it'll continually blow air through there at a high rate. So every other one I've seen out there, this fan is probably about a 35% upgrade in CFM from any other setup out there. You're going to get the best bang for your dollar there. So All Motor Graphics is who we dealt with for our wrap. Huge shout out. They were amazing to work with. This was a standard pattern with a flag that they already had. It had a skull on it here where we have our logo, and it had Can-Am or something on the back fender where we have our name. They were super simple to work with. I sent them my logo, said I wanted it kind of blurred a little bit, and they sent me back a proof in no time with it all exactly how we wanted it. It's super thick material. I believe a standard vehicle wrap, and don't quote me on this, this is just from my memory, a standard vehicle wrap on a car is 7 to 8 mils thick, I believe. This one I think is 23 mils thick. So 3 times as thick as what a standard car wrap is. We've been through the brush, scraped it on rocks, trees, branches, and everything, and it's held up extremely well. It comes pre-cut. It took me about a day to put it on. Never done one before, and that was removing all the old graphics too, wiping it down with alcohol, getting all the old sticky off. Again, all motor graphics, great company to work with, and I highly recommend them. Next, we're going to go to the inside. So the first thing we're going to talk about on the inside is the DRT shift gate. The reason I chose the DRT is it's all metal, and it isn't just the top plate, it's the entire thing. So there's no cutting, there's no grinding. You just pull your center console out and you put this in. The reason for the shift gate is so you can go directly from high to reverse or low to reverse with just a quick hit like that. You don't have to look down at your shifter. You can just grab it and go for those oh no moments when you're about to flip over backwards. There's no thinking about it. It's just an instant reaction. I also went with a CA-Tech billet shift knob. It's a little bit taller, fits my hand better. The reason I didn't go with the CT Race Worx is they didn't have one. At the time, CA-Tech, again, nothing against them. Why we went with CT Race Worx, amazing company, great customer service. We just went a different route because of the way our heater kit mounted. But a little homage to them, I put the CA-Tech billet shift knob in there. It matched the color scheme of the side-by-side, and I love it. Very solid. The next thing, something from Kemimoto that I do highly recommend, one of the only things I've ever recommended from Kemimoto, is their tablet mount. So you come in, you take a couple volts out, you mount this tablet mount holder in there. It has a cubby in here. You can store something, whatever, and your charger port is right back here. Now, something I did do, I took out the cigarette lighter 12-volt socket port, and I went on Amazon and I bought a USB plug to put in there. So I actually hardwired it in. So I pulled the socket completely out. All the wires are right up there in your fuse panel. Ran the short little wires over there, connected it. So I no longer have a 12-volt cigarette lighter adapter in there, which was never needed. I have 3 USBs. So the wire from your tablet can go right into the box there, plug in the USB, phone charger, two-way radio charger, whatever. You can put a two-way radio in there, plug it in the charger. Didn't have that mounted very securely, but it's a great setup. So that's something from Kemimoto you can't go wrong with. The next thing I want to talk about is our heater setup. It's kind of hard to see it in here. You can go watch the video on installation of the heater in the Can-Am. Pretty straightforward install. One of the best things about the heater kit, though, is you have vents up here in the dash to blow on your windshield for defogging, to get some heat coming to your face. The other 2 vents are down here in the middle where you can adjust them wherever you want them. At your feet, under your legs, heat rises so it comes up. But that's one of the key features is the vents in the dash. Adjust them, blow right up there so the windshield stays clear for you. The next thing we're going to talk about is our blower motor fan. So this is a new release from Wicked Pekker Off-Road. It's our fan. So it's a cooling fan. I'm sure most of you have seen the big round fans that are like radiator cooling fans that are mounted overhead that blow down over you. Kind of hard to figure out where to get them from, where they're at, and when you do find them, they're $500, $600, $700. I'm sure they work great, but we wanted to come up with another solution that didn't take quite a chunk out of your pocketbook like that did. So we came up with this. It's the same blower motor for our base fan for the Can-Am heater, and it mounts to a roll cage here with stainless steel hose clamps, rubber line clamps, so don't have to worry about vibration. And this is a 3D printed manifold, if you will, with the same vents that are used for the heater kit that screw into them, so they rotate 360 degrees, open, close, what have you. There's 2 of them, come off at 45-degree angles, so you can position this wherever you want. It'll mount to any roll cage. in a Jeep, in any kind of side-by-side. Every side-by-side I've seen out there has a roll cage. Not sure of any that don't, but you can find somewhere in any side-by-side to mount this. This X3 just happens to have a bar that goes between the two right here that mount it perfectly. It's out of the way of everything. I can see my mirror. I don't see it at all when I'm riding around. It's not going to hit your head when you're bouncing around the trail. It's a great solution. You can aim it down at your feet. You can adjust it where it's blowing at your face. You can blow it down the front of you, whatever. It works really good, and it's the cheapest option you have out there. Last but not least, I want to talk about our backup camera. As you saw my Packout mount, you can't see out of the back window whatsoever. The mirror does no good. You see Packout boxes. So I wanted a solution with that. On the Talon, we had a Casoda Amazon camera and Bluetooth it to my tablet here, which was okay. You could split screen the tablet, have the camera on one side, your lifetime trail maps on the other side, and it all worked fine. But if you wanted to just see the maps, which I lead the ride a lot, it's nice to be able to look 100% of the time and see our view behind you. So I went with a Wolf Box 900, I believe it is, and the camera's mounted in the back, and I keep it on rear view all the time. So I look up in there, it's got a perfect view. I can scroll it up and down to tilt it up and down. It's a digital tilt, not a manual tilt. But you can see the ground right behind the vehicle, or you can tilt it up, or you can see up a hill. Real easy, real clear. Highly recommend that modification. I have pressure washed the inside without doing anything with the camera. A lot of people say don't do that. I've done it and never had it go out, never had an issue. So most of the modifications for the vehicle, I do highly recommend. The one I didn't was the windows, the Kemimoto windows, and I would highly recommend the BRP Can-Am windows, unless you want a hard polyurethane or plexiglass or Lexan window. There's a few companies out there. I don't know anything about those, but I do know the Can-Am BRP windows that they sell. I believe they're $800 or $900. They work really well. If you want a cheap upgrade, you're just going on one winter ride or something, you can get the cheap $80, $100 windows, put them in at the trailhead when you're getting ready to ride, and ride for the day. Don't expect them, if they get any mud in the zippers, for them to last, but it'll get you through the day or the weekend. Thank you for tuning in with us and watching our video. Please do me a favor and hit that like and subscribe buttons. You can visit us on Instagram, YouTube, follow us on all those platforms, or you can always go straight to our website at wickedpekkeroffroad.com.